A golden carriage rattles through the night. Inside sits a 14-year-old girl who no longer owns even the clothes on her back. At the border they stripped her of everything, jewels, servants, her beloved dog, then dressed her in the colors of a foreign nation. She is about to become queen of a people who will one day cheer as her head falls into a basket. This is not a fairy tale. This is the true story of Marie Antoinette, the most hated and most misunderstood woman in French history. In the winter of 1755, Vienna glowed under torchlight. The Habsburg palace rang with music, laughter, and the footsteps of more than a dozen royal children. Maria Theresa, the iron-willed Empress of Austria, had given birth to her youngest daughter, Maria Antonia. The girl grew up in a world of silk and candlelight, where palaces smelled of orange blossoms and fresh pastries, and where Mozart himself once slipped on the polished floor and was helped up by the little princess. She was bright-eyed, playful, and uninterested in books. Why master Latin when your destiny is already written in royal blood? Her future had been decided in the cold calculations of European power. She would marry the heir to France and seal an alliance between two ancient enemies. Spring 1770. A procession of carriages winds westward across Europe. 13-year-old Maria Antonia leaves Vienna forever. At the border, the ceremony is brutal and symbolic. Austrian attendants step back. French officials step forward. Every familiar garment is removed. Her little dog is taken. Even her name is changed. She becomes Marie Antoinette. A teenage girl stands alone on foreign soil, unable to speak the language, carrying the weight of two kingdoms on her slender shoulders. What thoughts raced through her mind in that moment? Did she feel excitement, terror, or simply numbness? History does not record her exact words, but it remembers what happened next. Versailles rose like a mirage of gold and glass. Hundreds of rooms, endless mirrors reflecting candle flames, gardens that stretched to the horizon. Yet behind the splendor lay a labyrinth of suffocating etiquette. Every morning the new Dauphine was dressed before an audience of courtiers. Ladies of higher rank handed her each petticoat and jewel according to rigid precedents. One wrong glance, one misplaced smile, and the entire court would whisper. Her husband, the awkward young Louis, preferred hunting and crafting locks in his private workshop. The two teenagers shared a palace but little else. For 7 long years the marriage remained unconsummated. The court watched. Europe gossiped. The pressure was crushing. Then, slowly, something shifted. The shy boy and the lonely girl found each other. Children arrived. For a fleeting season, laughter returned to the royal apartments. In 1774 the old king died. At 19, Marie Antoinette became Queen of France. The people cheered her beauty and grace. But the young queen was still a girl who loved life. She threw lavish balls, wore extravagant gowns and towering powdered hairstyles that required scaffolding, and escaped the stifling etiquette by building her own private hamlet in the Versailles Gardens, complete with thatched cottages, a working farm, and a theater where she could pretend to be a simple shepherdess. To her it was innocent relief. To a kingdom sliding toward bankruptcy after costly wars, it looked like reckless indulgence. Bad harvests drove bread prices sky-high. In the narrow streets of Paris, mothers watched their children grow thin. While the queen played at rustic simplicity, real peasants fought over moldy crusts. The gap between palace and pavement had become an abyss. Rumors spread like wildfire. The queen was called Madame Deficit. Every luxury, every party, every new dress was catalogued and exaggerated. A scandal erupted when thieves used her name to try stealing a diamond necklace worth a fortune. Though she was innocent, the public believed the worst. And then there was the invented quote that would haunt her for centuries, "Let them eat cake." Historians now agree she never said it. Yet the words painted her as heartless, and paint is hard to wash away. Behind closed doors, the queen was changing. She read more, gave to charity, and adored her children with fierce tenderness. But the tide of public anger had already turned. No act of kindness could outrun the stories. By the summer of 1789, France was boiling. On July 14, a mob stormed the Bastille. The ancient prison fell, and with it the illusion of royal invincibility. Months later, thousands of hungry women marched through rain and mud to Versailles. They demanded bread and the royal families returned to Paris. The golden carriages rolled away from the palace for the last time. Marie Antoinette, once the glittering queen, now traveled as a prisoner under guard. The family was moved into the Tuileries Palace, watched day and night by suspicious eyes. Fear for her children's lives drove the queen to one final gamble. In June 1791, under cover of darkness, the royal family fled Paris disguised as servants. The coach raced toward the eastern border where loyal troops waited. For hours hope flickered. Then, in the small town of Varennes, a postmaster recognized the king's face. The family was dragged back to Paris in humiliation. That failed escape sealed their fate. The revolution, once relatively moderate, turned radical and merciless. The monarchy was abolished. The royal family was imprisoned in the grim Temple Tower. In January 1793, King Louis XVI was executed by guillotine before a silent, watching crowd. Marie Antoinette, now a widow, heard her young son crying through the stone walls as revolutionaries took him away for re-education. She endured months in a damp cell. Her once famous golden hair turned white. Her health failed. Yet witnesses noted her astonishing dignity. She comforted her remaining daughter and faced her accusers with quiet composure. On October 16, 1793, the former queen was taken to the guillotine. As she mounted the scaffold she accidentally stepped on the executioner's foot. Her final words were pure grace, "Pardon me, sir. I did not do it on purpose." The blade fell. She was 37 years old. The revolution that killed Marie Antoinette would eventually devour many of its own leaders. The glittering world of Versailles vanished forever, replaced by the Red Terror and then Napoleon's empire. Yet the young Austrian girl sent to a foreign court at 14 became a symbol far larger than her own life. She was neither the villain of revolutionary pamphlets nor the flawless martyr of royalist legend. She was a woman thrust into impossible circumstances, isolated, scrutinized, and ultimately blamed for problems far beyond her control. Her story reminds us how quickly public love can turn to hatred, how myths can outlive truth, and how even queens are human. In the end, Marie Antoinette's greatest legacy may be the quiet courage she showed when everything was taken from her. She stepped onto that scaffold with the same poise she once showed in the mirrored halls of Versailles. History rarely forgives those caught between two worlds. But perhaps, centuries later, we can look at her not with the rage of 1789, but with the understanding of people who know what it feels like to be watched, judged, and reduced to a single story. What do you think? Was Marie Antoinette a victim of circumstance, or did her choices help seal her fate? Share your thoughts in the comments. History is never just about the past, it's a mirror. Thank you for watching. The story of revolution and resilience continues in the next chapter.